everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to be doing a video that I'm a little bit late to doing because I probably should have done this in June. However, I'm going to do it now because better late than never. So today I'm going to be doing the mid-year freak out tag. I don't know how this is going to be going because I'm not a fast reader and I haven't read that much this year, but I'm going to try and answer these questions as best that I can, and hopefully this is going to be a yearly thing from me. Who knows, because I'm so inconsistent. Anyway, without further ado, here are the questions. So the first question is best book that you've read so far in 2022. This is so easy for me to answer just because I feel like this book is the best book that I've read in a very long time. Obviously I usually am a very avid reader, however in the past couple of years I haven't kept up to date with reading material, so I haven't read a lot of new releases, and also I just haven't read regularly. You know, life happens and I just lost my love for reading. However, I found it again this year. So my favourite book that I read so far in 2022 was House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas. It's part of the Crescent City trilogy or series. It's the first book and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It's an urban fantasy. It follows this young woman named Bryce, and she basically lost her best friend, and she basically gets tangled up in a bunch of political intrigue, and it's just a really, really good opener to a series and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I haven't felt emotionally attached to characters or a series in a while, and this definitely made me fall in love with reading. This made me really remember why I love reading in the first place, because obviously we read a lot of books that, you know, we think are okay and we might not necessarily love them, but they're fine, and it's books like this that make me really realise why I love reading those books so much, is to realise that there are amazing books out there that will make me fall in love, and this was one of them. It's definitely my favourite that I've read so far this year, and to be honest I think it's going to be at the top of the list by the end of the year anyway. Who am I kidding? I loved it. I love the political intrigue, I love the twists and turns, I love the fact that it made me absolutely die and I was crying, snotty tears. It was just everything. It was my favourite this year so far and it will continue to be. The next question is best sequel that you read so far in 2022, and obviously I really want to mention the sequel to Crescent City, but I just feel like that's cheating, and also like I didn't like it as much. So the one that I'm going to mention is Kiss Cut by Karen Slaughter. This is the second book in the Grant County series. It's a like crime thriller series. It's set in a town called Grant County and each book is a different crime or murder. I just feel like as this series has gone on I've enjoyed the books more. I definitely wasn't seeing where this one was going. The first book I found a tiny bit predictable. I did guess who did the crime, however this one I couldn't guess at all, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It kept me gripped until the very last page and I just really thoroughly enjoyed it. It was definitely my favourite sequel of the year. This series altogether has been one of my favourites as well, and yeah, just thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't really want to go too much into this book because I feel like this is one of the ones where you should really go into it knowing nothing. Obviously you kind of do need to read the first book first, however this one involves mutilation and is just very twisty. That's all I'm going to say about this one. So the next question is new release you haven't read yet but want to, and this is so easy for me to answer. I haven't read any new releases this year apart from the sequel to Crescent City. However, one that I have been dying to read ever since I saw the title of this book was I'm Glad My Mum Died by Jeanette McCurdy. I know that this is making the rounds on book Twitter, on Booktok and wherever. A lot of people have been reading this, I think, simply for the title. Everyone knows that she, I don't think, had a very good relationship with her mum, and this is definitely one that I want to read. As someone with a very complicated relationship with their mum, I want to see someone else's perspective and how they dealt with it, and you know what they went through, because it will just be interesting to see, and also it will tick off my thing for the year of reading more non-fiction, because I've read 2 non-fiction books already, and this will be an interesting one to read and it will tick that off the list as well. So that's definitely one one that I want to read this year. I'm probably going to take it on my trip to Scotland with me because I'm going to take my Kindle, so that's definitely one that I want to get to soon. The next question is most anticipated book release for the second half of the year. I had to look back at my video for this one just to see when things were releasing because I haven't read any of the anticipated reads yet. However, I'm going to say A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal. So it's basically described as vampires meet Peaky Blinders, and that pretty much sold me on it. And I've also heard really good things about this author's writing, so I really am anticipating it. I believe it comes out at the end of September almost, so by the time I get back from my trip. Definitely one that I want to pick up and read and just see if I enjoy that author's writing, but definitely excited for that one. So the next question is biggest disappointment, and I'm gonna go with From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I am very much on Booktok, I'll link it below, and this is everywhere on Booktok, and I'm not sure where people are getting their ideas from or where they're getting their ratings from, but everyone raves about this book on Booktok, and I think I've learnt my lesson that I should not believe anyone on Booktok at all. I have yet to find any Booktokers whose opinions I really agree with. So maybe I should stick to the YouTube side of book things. However, I read this book like really thinking, oh my god, this is going to be amazing. Everyone has really good things to say. It was absolute dog shite. The whole series, okay, I've made it up to the 3rd book and I'm not even going to read the sequel series. I don't even think I'm going to read on with the main series itself. It's just terrible. It's really bad. It's badly written. The grammar is awful and I just can't deal. I also heard that she fired her editor after like the 1st or 2nd book, and it fucking shows. I mean, if that 1st book even had an editor, I'm surprised. Like, did she find her editor on Wish is all I'm saying. It was predictable, it was terrible, and I was very disappointed, and I'm never going to believe Booktok again. So the next question is biggest surprise, and that one's going to go to Death Row, The Final Minutes by Michelle Lyons. This book is basically written and it's about Michelle Lyons, the author, and she basically worked at the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, and she would basically record the final moments of those on death row. Like, she'd write down their last meal, the last thing they said, when they died. It was really interesting to read about. I was very surprised by this one. I loved the way it was written. It was kind of written in a very informal way, as if she was just talking to you, which I really liked, and it made it much easier to read. I went into this with kind of a grey mindset on death row, and I still left with a grey mindset, but it was very interesting to see the point of view from someone who actually worked on that side of things and see her point of view, and it was interesting to see kind of what it was like for her to take that home every day after, like, obviously witnessing someone dying. And it was just a really good read. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It made me feel way more emotional for those on death row, and it's a hard one because at the end, the beginning of the book kind of opens up on this guy who cried before he was obviously put to death, and then at the end of the book you actually find out what his crimes were, and at the beginning you feel very sorry for him. At the end you don't know how to feel because you know his crimes. It's such a tough one. This one just was really surprising for me because I really enjoyed it. It was a really fast read for me, and it's like the first non-fiction book that I've read that is about kind of like a criminal subject, and I've enjoyed it. So this one was surprising for me. I'm glad I loved it, and I definitely, if Michelle wrote more books, I would definitely read them, but I think this is her only one. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed this one. So the next question I can't actually answer because the question is favourite new author, debut or new to you, and I haven't, although I have read from some new authors this year, I haven't read one that's blown my mind. Obviously Michelle Lyons I love, but she only has the one book. So I'm going to cheat and skip this question. Maybe next year we can answer all the questions, maybe. We'll see. The next question is newest fictional crush. And obviously I'm going to go with Hunter Fowler because this can go no other way than up. Next question is book that made you cry. I'm cheating again, I'm so sorry, but like I think this is the only book that's made me cry this year. I think House of Sky and Breath did a little bit, but like this one had me in like full snotty, disgusting tears for like 4 days while I was reading the ending. And no book has had that kind of power on me since. So we're going with House of Earth and Blood. Don't judge me, okay, I haven't read a lot. And this is the only one that made me weep, so we're going with it. So the next question is book that made me happy. I wasn't going to give an answer for this, or at least I was going to give a weird answer. However, I'm going to say House of Sky and Breath. Now hear me out. The ending made me very happy. I'm thinking about it now and I'm like, ah! It made me happy. The ending made me happy. I mean, it made me a little bit sad. And very anxious for the future, but it also made me happy. I was, you know, like that moment when you're just like, fuck yeah! Yeah, it made me happy. So, equal parts terrified, equal parts happy. The next question is most beautiful book you've bought this year or received. Okay, so I've talked about the Grant County series by Karen Slaughter for so long now, but what you guys don't know is that a lot of the books that I bought in that series or had received, because most of them my friend Sophie bought for me, so thank you Sophie, but most of them I got second hand from like charity stores. I think the first book in the series is the only book that I bought brand new from Waterstones like a year or 2 ago. However, the last book in the series is very elusive. Me and Sophie could not find it anywhere. My local Waterstones does not sell it. It also has 2 different names. It goes under the name Skin Privilege, and then it has another name for like the new covers. Couldn't find it anywhere. None of the charity stores had it, no second-hand places had it. Waterstones don't even have the new version. Couldn't find it anywhere. I was like, I'm just gonna have to buy it online when I eventually read the rest of the series. However, when I started my new job, one day my boss comes in with a bunch of, like a bag of books, and she turns around to me and my colleague and she goes, oh, like, do you want any of these? I'm just going to take them round the corner to put them in like the second-hand like shelf thing. If you want any, let me know. I was like, oh, what's in there? She was like, oh, it's a bunch of like thrillers, and you know, I was like, oh, what are the authors? She says one author and then she goes, Karen Slaughter. I was like, I literally did an audible gasp. I literally went, oh, I love Karen Slaughter. And she was like, oh yeah, I've got like 2 in here from her. So she had one that's part of another series, which I did take that one because I do love Karen Slaughter, but it also means I now have to buy the other series, which is kind of a problem. Anyway, she had Skin Privilege. Is it the prettiest book I own? Absolutely not. However, receiving this was like finding that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. I literally, when she said she's got Skin Privilege, I went, I kid you not. I've been searching for that book everywhere and I have not been able to find it. Oh my god, you are a god. Definitely very happy and grateful to receive this and finally have my hands on a copy. I don't know why it's so hard to find. But I'm definitely grateful. This is the one I'm most grateful for this year. It's not the prettiest, but it was the hardest to find and therefore the best one I've received this year. So the last question is, what are the books that you need to read by the end of the year? I have quite a few. I don't even know where to start with this question because I have so many books that I have to read. However, I'm gonna say this series just because I think it was on my top 5 books I must read by the end of the year. I think this was on it. Anyway, I'm not sure. I think this is the second book. However, we're just going to pretend I'm holding up the first book so that you get the point. I need to read this series. Oh no, it's book 1. It's alright, it's book 1. I need to read The Last Hours because I'm pretty sure the last book comes out at the end of the year. I'm going to have to double check because I need the hardcover because if they don't match, I'm going to be very annoyed. just need to read it because of the Victorian era that it's set in, and I loved The Infernal Devices. It was my favourite trilogy from Cassandra Clare, and this is set during the same sort of time because it's set after The Infernal Devices. So I need to read this one desperately. However, it's just off-putting when you see a book that size and you're a slow reader. So definitely need to read this one by the end of the year. Don't forget to like this video and please subscribe to my channel to see more content from me. And until the next video, I will see you then. So bye guys.